So yesterday we started with that statement, statement 4. So chapter 2, statement 4 says, the Kagyu masters maintain that the body indeed transmigrates in the ocean of samsara. So transmigrates, wander, is the body that wanders. So here, the Kagyu masters, principally Kyobajik and Sumgen. Yeah. So yesterday, I talked about how, yes, immediately, of course, on the surface, it will seem kind of to contradict, right? Basic Buddhist doctrine. Basic Buddhist doctrine says, it's the mind that wanders. No doubt, it's the mind or the continuity of these moments of mind. Even when we say mind, right, we should not think of mind as a thing. Yeah, mind is not like a single entity, a single immaterial entity that moves through existences, a stable single entity that moves through existences. The Buddha never accepted, that kind of an understanding of mind. The Buddha's, what the Buddha taught as this thing called mind is a continuity of moments, each moment followed by the next moment. Each moment is an instance of a moment of mind that arises, abides, and ceases. So sometimes a more literal translation is mind stream. So mind is analogized with like a stream, like a river. Just like with a river, you can say, and this is this river, this is this river, this is this river, and this river is not this river. And that river is not that river. So that much we can say, so likewise, your particular mind stream and my particular mind stream, they are distinct. But with regards to this stream, at no point is anything about the stream that remains unchanging. Literally, nothing remains unchanging because the stream consists of water that is ever flowing. And as it flows, right, even the banks of the river gets modified in every moment. So likewise, when we say mind, mind too is this constantly changing. So this continuity, generally speaking, is what we say that takes rebirth. This continuity is what continues, is what wanders, more generally speaking. So this is a basic kind of Buddhist understanding. But here, as I said yesterday, Kyopa makes a statement that is almost like counter to what's normally expected. And I would say, like this is very similar to that example I gave yesterday, right? Of the two monks arguing. Is it the flag that is moving or is it the wind that is moving? Seeing that opportunity, the sixth patriarch of the Zen tradition says, neither. It's the mind that is moving. So here, you can also imagine the scenario of these disciples debating, arguing, it's the mind that moves, mind move in this way, and the mind stream flows in this way, and this way, and that way. Then Kyopa Rinpoche says, it's the body that moves. It's the body that transmigrates, that wanders. So this is said to have been taught by Jigten Sumgön in response to people who claim that it is only the mind that transmigrates in samsara. Only the mind that transmigrates. That is when then Khenpo Rinpoche says, no, it's the body that transmigrates in this ocean of samsara. And so let's look at Khenpo Kunpal's commentary, page 127 if you have the book. The so-called samsara is nothing other than these 5 aggregates that perpetuate defilements. And so the 5 aggregates that you and I possess, that we have. The physical aggregate, which consists of 4 basic aggregates coming together. What's known as the earth, water, fire, and wind elements, together forming the body aggregate. Then there is feeling or sensation. This is precognitive response to things, even before we recognize what things are. The moment contact takes place, pain, pleasure, or neutral is that sensation. And then from that sensation, next is perception. Now we have cognized. Oh, that's what it is. Then the next aggregate is what's known as mental formations or volitional activities. And that's when it becomes what we would normally call emotions and stories and narratives, and it gets elaborated. And all of this is possible because there's this consciousness associated with each of the senses. So there's the eye consciousness, the ear consciousness, the nose consciousness, the taste consciousness, the body touch consciousness, and the intellect. And so like the body, the consciousnesses, and then the other 3 are the things that happen when these 2 come together. So these are the 5 aggregates, So the so-called samsara is none other than these 5 aggregates that perpetuate defilements. Therefore, Jigten Sumgön maintains that the mind and the body indeed transmigrate in the ocean of samsara. So here, Khenpo Kunpal, more in line with mainstream, he says the mind and the body indeed transmigrate in the ocean of samsara of the 6 classes of beings. A mind alone that is not based in or connected with any kind of body does not experience happiness and suffering. And so this is Khenpo Kunpal's way of understanding this. He says, it's not saying that it's just the mind that transmigrates, that goes from lifetime to lifetime, that it can only happen in cooperation with bodies. And when it comes to bodies, so here it says the body can either be a real substantial one, meaning a physical body, or it can also be a mental body. A mental body are the bodies that the God realms have. Then there's another type of body, one that is established through meditative concentration. These are in the Brahma heavens and beyond. Even higher states of existence, those bodies are born out of intense mental concentrations. So he says, any of these, they are bodies. So bodies need not just mean physical flesh and blood body. They can also be mental bodies and bodies created from powerful states of mind. All these are bodies. Therefore, wherever there are the 5 perpetuating aggregates with a body produced from habitual tendencies, that is designated as samsara. So elsewhere, the commentary, one of Chodra's commentary, verse commentary of this statement, he takes it in the direction of saying, in fact, mind, as in nature of mind, and so Chodra takes it in the direction of nature of mind to try to explain this statement. He says, because the nature of mind doesn't move at all, doesn't change at all. So in each moment of these temporary minds, right, that arise and disappear, arise and disappear in this flow, in each of those moments, there's the mind that appears, but there's also the nature of mind. And of the two, the nature of mind is truly who we are. That nature of mind doesn't move, so it cannot be the one that is suffering. But rather is these temporary appearing and disappearing moments that are the bearer of suffering. And therefore, he says, that is the body that moves around in samsara. And so here, I feel, for me, more, that story of, is it the wind? Is it the flag? No, it's the mind that moves. So here when it says, it's not the body that moves, that transmigrates, that experiences happiness and suffering. It's the body that experiences happiness and suffering. Here I think, again, even though strictly doctrinally it's inaccurate, but this statement is addressing something that we in our confused state experience quite directly, how the body is what wonders. The wonder here is not, like a wander around with a sense of wonder. Oh, how wonderful. Wonder here is talking about, being dragged around in the realm of a samsara without any control. And so it's a negative. It's a negative connotation. So what is negatively, what is dragged around in a state of samsara? Body. So it also is saying to us, we need to develop skillful care of body. Again, skillful is operative. So for me, this statement is saying the skillful care of the body is really important, because this body, for you and I, is primarily where happiness and suffering, the place where happiness and suffering takes place. Yeah? It's really so dependent on this body. And if we don't know how to take skillful care of it, then we increase our suffering. Skillful care also means we cannot obsess over this. If we obsess over this, if we are so careful, supposedly, that everything that happens to it, we get, kind of triggered. That will also create a lot of suffering. But when we can give, so to say, healthy respect on the demands of this body and pay attention to that, then it's the body that wanders, it's the body that transmigrates, and therefore, the mind can be free from the burdens of this wandering. Simultaneously, don't ignore or abuse this container, this body. Simultaneous with that, also the understanding that the mind can be free. When freedom is achieved, basically it's the mind. But in the context of secret mantra practice, there is focus on this body. There is special focus on this body, such as the inner subtle energy movements, and kind of being sensitive to that. And then, if you have the skills, to train that, to direct or redirect energy of that, right? That's taught in secret mantra. But even more general and in a way more important, secret mantra teaches how we visualize, we work with visualizing our true body as something else. You could say a mental body. And the mental body is the body of a Buddha. That we identify with that body as our true body. So that's the Yidam practice. Some of you might have received the revised Chintamani text that I shared. So in there it talks about, there's one section in the text where it talks about, so when we practice the Dharma, we need to know what are the hindrances that arise at the cause level at the beginning. And there it's talking about the hindrance of all motivations that is other than the motivation of bodhicitta. That is, those are the hindrances that will arise at the beginning. And so therefore, constantly making sure that the only motivation we have in pursuing the path, in walking on this path, is bodhicitta, is extremely important. Then the second, the hindrances that arise when you are on the path. There, Kyoba Rinpoche talks about the arising of the 4 types of maras. And the first type of mara is the mara of the aggregates. He says that the mara of the 5 aggregates is the first type of mara that would arise. And with regards to how to overpower this mara of the aggregates, Kyoba Rinpoche says, deity yoga. More and more commitment and training to identifying your body with the divine body of a Buddha figure, whether it's Tara, whether it's Buddha Shakyamuni, whether it's Kalachakra, whether it's Vajra Yogini, he doesn't emphasize so much, that it has to be this or it has to be that. In fact, I've not seen him saying, do this one and that one. This is more profound than that. He rejects that. He says, insofar as they are Buddha bodies, they all have all the qualities that you're looking for. So don't jump here, jump there. Just go with one if you can. If not, go with a set of 2 or 3 that you easily identify with and say, that's my body, that's my form, that's my true identity. He says, by habituating that, then it can overcome the mara of the aggregates. So this body that wanders, right? So instead of allowing allowing us to experience this as the body that wanders, now we should experience this as the exalted body that exists for the benefit of others. Right? Why do we visualize ourselves as four-armed Chenrezig? Why do we visualize ourselves as Tara? Why do we visualize ourselves as Buddha Amitabha? So that it can benefit others. So that others who need Tara can more quickly, easily experience Tara's presence. So those who need Vajrapani can more quickly, easily experience Vajrapani when you visualize yourselves as Vajrapani. Not only that, when you visualize yourself as Vajrapani, you also visualize all the beings around you as part of the mandala of Vajrapani, and your environment, which is part of the aggregates actually. The sight, sound, smell, taste, touch that you experience, they are part of the aggregates. You visualize all of them as a Buddha land. You experience all of them as a Buddha land. Then, what used to be, what gets dragged around, what's transmigrating, what's wandering around in the ocean of samsara, becomes Buddha bodies, becomes Nirmanakayas that manifest for the purpose of others. Again, in the Chintamani, he says, Khenpo Rinpoche says, how wonderful, this pile of flesh and bones Buddha Shakyamuni has transformed into Buddha Vairochana. Vairochana means the all-illuminator. Through his successful practice of the creation stage, Siddhartha Shakyamuni has transformed this pile of bones and flesh into the mandala. How wonderful. So this statement 4. So right now, this body is what's dragged around in the ocean. But we can do something about it. We can change. We can transform. We can dispel the hindrance of the aggregate samara through the creation stage. The next statement, the 12 links of dependent origination are only activated by ignorance. Only activated by ignorance, meaning that ignorance is the first, or confusion is the first of these 12 links of dependent origination. So in Khenpo Kunpal's commentary, he lists them out. So if we look, it says, the 12 links of dependent origination are 1. Ignorance, through which 2. Karmic formation is produced, and likewise consciousness, then name and form develops, then the sense basis, then contact occurs, then feeling arises, then with feeling, craving takes place. Craving becomes stronger. 9, grasping. Grasping leads to becoming. 10, becoming leads to birth. 11, and with birth, then 12, old age and death. So these are the 12, right? So with regards to these 12 links of arising, dependent origination, these are only activated by and occur due to the first link, ignorance, which is their root. Ignorance is the root. There's this basic ignorance, there's basic not seeing, this basic darkness, this avidya, the lack of vidya, the lack of seeing, the lack of clear seeing. This darkness is what basically fuels, energizes all the 12 links. So this is in response to people who say, oh, this ignorance, this darkness is only one aspect out of 12. Khenpo Rinpoche says, actually, no. It's this one aspect is what underlies all 12 of these. Due to its existence, all the others arise, and due to its cessation, all the others cease. What makes it cease? It is the wisdom that knows the ultimate reality or realizes the lack of self. So mainly, Khenpo Rinpoche is saying, if you attack this basic darkness, then if that collapses, all parts of this collapses. But there are those, who study this 12 in detail, then they say, oh, of the 12, these 3 belong to last life, these 6 belong to this life, and those, 3 more belong to next life. So they have very sophisticated divisions into, what is the cause, what is the result, and what is the creation of further causes. And so here again, Khenpo says, actually, but if you need to know these 12 links, know that the most important thing to know is that this darkness, this basic darkness, this not seeing, this avidya, this marikpa, the very first of the 12, is what powers all parts of it. And that if you get rid of that, then everything collapses. And so then quoting Khenpo Kunpal said, it is like it is said in the sutra summary, the sentient beings, minor, mediocre, or supreme, all these arise from ignorance. This is taught by the Sugata, by the Buddha. And it is further said, the nature, types, methods, and roots of primordial wisdom, all these arise from the supreme transcendent wisdom. And so this is the opposite scenario. And the opposite scenario is that wisdom, the wisdom that dispels the darkness of self, mistaken views about self. That wisdom is the wisdom that will clear. So here, this darkness, right? It's not just a passive darkness of not knowing, but that from the not knowing, not seeing, not only are we in the dark, but then from being in the dark, we actively grasp onto wrong views. Views that further keep us in darkness, which is all these different ideas and concepts about I, me, and mine. So there is a basic darkness, basic ignorance, which is not seeing. But this basic darkness or basic ignorance of not seeing, because of being in the dark, gets further reinforced by us churning out more darkness, so to say. So this darkness have to be removed. So this is the first statement on these 12 aspects of the dependent origination, the 12 links, sometimes called, of dependent origination. And the next statement will also address these 12 links of dependent origination. But we'll leave that for tomorrow. So today we will stop here.